Welcome back, guys. In this principle, I want to talk about how to create and convert demand by demonstrating expertise. Now, I'm going to introduce you to a concept or remind you of a concept called the authority flywheel. It has four key ingredients, okay? Ingredient number one is one main social channel, okay? Right now, I prefer LinkedIn. This is where you're posting, kind of the high volume content. Many of our members are posting on LinkedIn every single day, or at least 5 days a week. We break all that down in the content engine and like how you can get going at that if content creation is new for you. But short form content is really good for bringing people in, as you'll see. But long form content, which is where you might have found me, is YouTube. Video for me is a thing that I like to do. And so it has become my long form piece of content. So we need a short form piece of content. We need a long form place for content. We want to be emailing our email list. So our email newsletter is a really great opportunity for us to get people into our programs and offers. And again, really just focusing on one way to convert all of these people. Many of you will be focused on what we call the consultative call. You'll see a training called the consultation engine that we will introduce to you. It's a systematic approach to having sales conversations. All right. So those are the key ingredients. But what we're really doing here is building this flywheel. The concept of a flywheel is it's this heavy wheel. It kind of takes time to get it going, but once it gets going and getting rotated, it actually becomes really difficult to stop, and it can spin on its own. As we keep feeding it and feeding it, it'll spin faster and faster and faster, and it compounds. So for us, our short form content on our one social channel will bring people in. It'll bring people in to get them to start consuming our long form content. And that's where we really start to build deeper trust. And as we're doing that, we're trying to get them onto our email list. Our email list is where we're going to keep the conversation going so that we can convert them into being a buyer. And that's where we turn prospects into buyers. And so when you zoom out on this flywheel, short form content brings people to long form builds the trust and gets them onto our email list. And that's how we get people into buying and into our sales conversations. So it's this authority flywheel. By all going out into the marketplace, putting our expertise out there, we get this flywheel spinning. Now, how do we accelerate this flywheel? When ready and when our organic content is working, we actually accelerate this with paid traffic. Paid traffic can help us grow our channels, get more eyeballs, drive traffic to our lead magnets, retarget to move folks into our long form content that haven't already gotten there, and even invite the most aware prospects to have a conversation with us. So paid is really an amplifier. It's like the pouring the gasoline onto an already existing fire. So once we get our organic marketing, our content getting traction, we want to amplify it with paid. And you can do so with not spending a ton of money. The last 12 to 14 months, we've been spending like $3 to $5K a month. And many of our members get started when they do with, $1,000 a month. So really 10, 20, 30 bucks a day can actually really start to amplify all the things you're doing with the content that we've already seen working and getting traction in our everyday marketing. Now, one thing that I want to touch on is what we call expertise exposure. What you have to understand is Google introduced this thing called, or made a kind of a report that they call it the 7-11-4 rule. Buyers pretty much have made up their decision by the time they're talking to you. They will have consumed up to 7 hours of your content across 11 touch points and across 4 different platforms. So 7 hours of content, 11 different touch points, and they might have been on your email list, seen you on YouTube, watched you do your podcast, and then gotten to their phone and watched you on Twitter or whatever. So like there are multiple touch points in order to really create a buyer. And so our content, how we approach marketing, building that authority flywheel, is we have to understand that between short and long, we need to have them consume a lot of content, aka time on content, but also watch the content that is longer in form, which allows us to go deep. So I'm talking about content depth, okay? So if you have someone who's low on time on content and also shallow in depth, those are really kind of our gateway engagers. Our gateway engagers are the people that maybe just came into our world. They just started looking at our stuff. They haven't been convinced or ready to go deeper. So these are people that are potentially new to our world, but in order to kind of keep them in our world and potentially become customers, we need to get them to go deeper with us, right? And so that's where you have then maybe they just came into your world, but they're starting to watch some of your long form stuff or read some of your long form stuff. Those are really what are going to become promising prospects. They're kind of still too new to your world to maybe be a buyer, but like they're showing signs that they're going to go deep because you're speaking their language. Now, if we look to the right side, if you have kind of someone spending a lot of time on your content, but it's all short form content, they're just breezing through. They're never really truly paying attention or looking at the insights that you're driving. That's where you kind of have what we call the content consumer. You probably have been one of these as well. You're just consuming, swiping. You're getting those dopamine hits. You're never going to buy anything. You're just like kind of feeding off of it. We don't really want people to be there. And so what we really want to focus on is the people that are going deep on our content and have consumed a lot of it, because those, my friends, are ready buyers. Those are ready buyers. So it's too early to tell, what I want to show you here is obviously the goal is to get people to be ready buyers. The content consumer probably aren't going to be a buyer unless they really kind of become a promising prospect first. Those gateway people, there's an opportunity for them to either become a promising prospect or kind of just end up becoming a content consumer. And there's some good hope for our friends up here in the top left, which are our promising prospects. Again, I'll put them in blue just for a different color. They're not green yet, but they're showing some hope. Those are the people that we really want. So if you think about it, what we really want to do is get promising prospects into becoming a ready buyer. We want those gateway to either get into promising prospect or move into a ready buyer as well. So that's what expertise exposure really means. And when we start doing this and building out the systems here that we're going to help you with, we're going to go from creating demand using organic content, paid ads, potentially partners, bring them into our ways of conversion, which is our email list, our social selling system, and our consultative sales process, eventually even selling with just a Google document or a Notion page, obviously so that we can serve the demand through clients, subscribers, members, and customers. So we're kind of building this predictable buying pathway, moving people from they just heard about us to they're raving fans and they want to work with us. So some common pitfalls here is trying, again, to be on too many platforms all at once. Over teaching, we're going to introduce you to a tool called the Content Compass to make sure that we're not always over teaching, that we're kind of sharing other types of content. And we want to make sure that we're not focused on the wrong metrics. The reality is you're going to be posting a lot of content at some point, and likes, followers, views, subscribers all really mean absolutely nothing. Many of the people here in this group, as you will soon hear, they never commented on any of my stuff. They were in my world for a while, and then out of nowhere they booked a call and they bought because they've been consuming. So most of the people that will become buyers, they aren't going to be as active as you would like to see on your social media. Some will, but some of the best buyers are the bingers that are just kind of sitting there in the background. So don't put a ton of weight on how many likes and views content gets, because as you'll see from many of the other members here, it doesn't always translate to money. We also want to make sure that we're not rushing, kind of giving up on content because we didn't give it enough time, or jumping to paid ads too soon. And lastly, not using paid ads at all. Once you are getting traction and you're really clear on your message and people are coming through your predictable pathway consistently, ads will amplify and speed up all of this process, taking pressure off of all of the effort behind creating the content. So some key reminders: focus 99% on one social platform to get this thing going. Marketing will make sales simpler, so that's why we want to do marketing. And consistent audience growth is a requirement of building an alt agency, right? Because if you want to sell things that are leveraged, member offers, customer offers, you need eyeballs, right? So we need to have focus on continually building our audience, getting leads, getting customers, etc. It's a requirement of the game. Now, in the next video, I want to talk about building your business around your lifestyle, a key principle here at AltAgency.